Today, we will take a look at the Dharmic concept of God. An important component of Dharmic faiths is the concept of an infinite and all-pervading God energy. According to Dharmic faiths, God is everywhere, both inside and outside. This is in contrast with the externalization of the God energy that we see in some other faiths. Here, we come to a very important question. Is what we perceive as the God energy finite or infinite? Because if God is external to us and there are things that exist outside the ambit of God, then God is finite. Anything that is finite is limited. Anything that is finite and has attributes can be created, not in the religious terms, but in general. Example, a mountain can be created by plate tectonics, planets out of remnants of stars, and so on. Anything that is finite is subject to creative processes. You cannot stand outside something and call it infinite. In philosophy, there is what is called the problem of skepticism. At its simplistic version, this claims that true knowledge on any question is not possible. You can't profess to have true knowledge on any question. Nothing can be stated with certainty, not even the fact that the sun rises in the east. If you state such a fact, the skeptic's response would always be, what if the world is a simulation, and that too a simulation done by a bad guy who wants you to believe that the sun rises in the east? The French philosopher Descartes answered this philosophical problem by stating that an infinitely powerful being has no reason to deceive and keep us in illusion. Thousands of years before Descartes, the ancient Vedantins and other Dharmic philosophers started their inquiry from this problem. They supposed that some force, some principle should be infinite. Whether it was sentient or not, whether it has attributes or not, and more importantly, whether it's personal or impersonal, did not matter. They went one step further, saying that this unmanifest infinite, this impersonal God energy is the Brahman. It has no attributes, and when it chooses to manifest, it does take on attributes. The ancient saints emphasize the fact that all of existence is a dance of delight of this infinite God energy. In non-Dharmic faiths, there is also this issue of evil standing outside the ambit of God energy. If there is anything that is outside of the concept of God that, say, has an attribute of evil, then that negates logically an omnipotent and omniscient God energy. God becomes limited. God might vanquish evil, but that shows a superiority in power, not an infinite nature. In Dharmic faiths, humans, divinities, gods, demigods can all have positive and negative characteristics. In Hindu scriptures, even prime antagonists like Ravana, Taraka, Vajranga all had good and bad qualities, and in many cases were openly created by the God energies. On the other side, even Brahma and Indra had negative qualities, but they are all, as we are too, a part of the Brahman. On the whole, there is no entity that stands outside the God energy. The four Mahavakyas, great statements of Hinduism, summarize the essence of Dharmic faiths and the notion of an infinite and all-pervading God energy. The first statement is Prajnanam Brahma. Consciousness is Brahman. This is a sweeping assertion that says that all of conscious awareness is Brahman. The next statement, and the most popular one, is Aham Brahmasmi. I am the Brahman. This statement identifies the self with the Supreme Absolute. The I here should not be taken as the ego principle. Ancient saints did not run around proclaiming Aham Brahmasmi for material gains. Which is why the next Mahavakya says, Tattvamasi, thou art that. You and everything else are part of the Brahman. Differentiation ceases. The next Mahavakya is direct and to the point. I am Atma Brahma. This statement again reinforces the fact that this Atman, the self, is the Brahman. the oversoul, the infinite consciousness. These Mahavakyas were often used in Nididhyasana by ancient saints. By contemplating on these statements, the ancients progressed on their path towards liberation. Dharmic philosophies are inclusive, and worship to a particular external God energy is not mandatory for liberation. Because according to Dharmic faiths, God is everywhere. And of course, in Dharmic faiths, not worshipping a particular God will not condemn you to eternal hell either. The Dharmic concept of an infinite God energy is not just limited to faiths like Hinduism and Buddhism, but also was prevalent in many ancient faiths across the world. The aim of Dharmic faiths is God realization, the realization of the spark within, the realization that we are one with the Absolute. As always, the known is a drop and the unknown an ocean. Peace.